purposefully recording this video in lower quality, so hopefully I can make the whole thing without me using up all the storage on my phone. This is weird. I don't like recording myself. But what I want to do right now is just sort of sort through my thoughts, because my heart is pounding right now. And that's cringe, and I don't like that. I don't like that feeling. I don't know. I've just been looking at this thread I saw today that was like, how to deal with the idea of like, but what if I detransition? So there were like a whole bunch of videos there that were like people detransitioning journeys, but they were very positive and laid back and very like, you know, they weren't detransitioners that like hate the trans community and are like, oh, all trans people are disgusting and blah 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 blah, all that garbage, because there are people that are like that, and those are shitty people. Because, you know, the detransitioning videos I was watching was like people who just simply, you know, transitioning just simply wasn't for them. And part of me is like, what if I'm like that? And a huge part of me is like, I'm scared that that would be me. And I guess the reason why I'm scared is because I've been confident in my thoughts that I am trans since as long as, you know, a long time, like many years, like about 10 years. I don't know, just feels like nerve-wracking to think my entire identity is something else than it really is, which sounds ridiculous because that means I'm not like really sure of myself. But when I'm not thinking negatively about myself, I've definitely gotten better about thinking positively, especially towards myself. And like now that I'm moved out and I don't have to worry about my mom's approval, which is something that was big. That was like, she does not approve of transgender people in general. She thinks it's horrendous, and she's very religious, and like, it was really hard living with her because I couldn't, you know, I came out to her, but I kind of got forced back in the closet. Like, she didn't use my name, she didn't use my pronouns, she refused that, you know, to ever do any of that, and she basically ignored that it ever happened and continued to call me by my dead name and everything. And I was like, well, that's horrible. So I lived like that for a few years, and then now I'm here. I've moved out of that house, and I'm living with my boyfriend and his parents and grandmother, and they're very nice, and they call me Danny, they use their pronouns for me, and it feels good. It feels good. And when I think about transitioning and starting tea and living out the rest of my life as a man, like, that doesn't scare me, you know? Because what it means to be a man is so complex to me that it's not just, oh, you have to have short hair, a beard, and wear pants and a shirt every day. No, I want to have fun. You know, I can't wait to, you know, I'm growing out my hair long again. I want it to be as long as it was when I was a little kid. You know, like, it was like almost to my knees, and I want to grow my hair out again. Because not only I think it would look nice, I also want to donate it again, but I don't know, I might just want to keep it long. But I love the idea of having facial hair, and like, when I'm sick, I record myself because I like how it sounds when I have a deep voice, and like, it makes me feel cool, like, good. It feels right, you know? A lot of those things, like, of the images of what I think I'm gonna look like with, you know, more physical changes makes me happy. But I also want to cry right now because I'm like, what if I'm not? You know? And that's where the confusion sets in, because it's like, am I really transitioning just to escape being me, I guess? Like, there was a time where I really did feel like that, like, I wanted to transition so I wouldn't be like myself anymore, you know? And that's sort of where I was connecting a little bit more with those detransitioners, is because, you know, there's a time in my life where I just wanted to be someone else so badly. I didn't want to be me anymore. But now what it means to be me is to look like this, but a slightly different, you know, to how I want to look, you know? Because I spent so many years just, like, hating myself and hating the little kid I was. Like, if I had met past me, I would totally beat the shit out of that little kid. Like, that's so cruel, you know? That's part of what I want to do, is just get better, you know, at healing. And I think I've definitely improved, you know? Like, I love I love little me. I love just, like, how I was and how I am, you know? I can't believe there was a time in my life where I hated it. I hated me. I hated myself. I don't feel like I hate myself anymore, and it feels nice to say that. It feels really nice to say that, you know, because I felt like I wanted to transition since I was like 11 or 12, you know? I guess my first trans experience, or whatever the hell it was, is, I remember this so vividly. I was a little kid, and it was me and my little sibling. They were a boy at the time, and you know, it's like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom, I'm gonna go pee in the woods, and I was like, I want to do that. So to try and copy my little brother, I wanted to pee standing up as well, and then that little shit made fun of me. But I remember that, and then I remember things like, you know, being friends with this girl, and she was a tomboy through and through, and I was like impressed, and I was envious. I was like, I want to be like that, because I was so used to just being a little girl, all pink and dresses and feminine things, because that's what my mom adored. I feel like I lived a lot of my life for her. So it feels weird being away from her and not having to do that anymore. But I remember I finally started wearing pants, and I was like, this is awesome. But I had always been so jealous of my friend who's like a super tomboyish girl, and I was like, man, I want to be like that, because it was a new thing, it was a new experience. It was like, it was exciting to me, but it also just looked so much more comfortable. So when I started wearing my brother's clothes, it felt nice, you know? It just felt more right, which is, I know sounds ridiculous because clothes aren't gendered, and like, I've learned a long time ago that like, all of that thing is sort of ridiculous, because there is no such thing as like girl clothes or boy clothes. Just, it's sort of, it's a social construct. Anyways, I don't know. I feel like when I hit puberty, I was angry and sad and confused, and like, I was like, this shit sucks. I was crying to my mom, like, I do not want to wear bras. I don't want to wear sports bras. I don't want to wear anything like that. Why can't I have been like Justine, that girl who was flat-chested, tomboy? Why can't I be more like my sibling at the time? I was like, this doesn't feel right. I was developing healthily, you know, I wasn't in poor health or anything. Everything was going smoothly. I was just uncomfortable. And like, it's apparently a very common thing for young girls to be uncomfortable during puberty. But even saying like when my mom looked at me and she said, you're gonna grow up to be a woman. You're gonna be a beautiful woman. I was like, that was the first time I had ever thought about growing up and being a woman. That shit was like, I was like, that doesn't sound right to me. That doesn't fit me, you know? So now when I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about like going on testosterone and like how I'm gonna, you know, be a man, and like the idea of just being like a 40-something-year-old with like a long beard, sounds awesome. You know, it just sounds like I'm excited for that. So here's where it's just like, I'm confused. What if I'm really not trans? because there are so many other factors, and this is something that I'm ashamed to admit is just like this very negative thing that my mom has like almost convinced me of. It's like, you're only trans because of this or this or this, and those being different traumatic experiences or traumatic periods in my life. Like, I was sexually abused. Not cool. And it was by a family member, not like immediate family, but you know, also wanted to forget that, but it happened, and it was very awful. And when I think about that, I don't ever really connect it to my transness, because it's like, you know, there's like, you know, this idea just sprouted in my head. If I was a boy, that wouldn't have happened to me. It could have, because you want to know what else happened? I was also sexually abused by a girl, but this was a girl at my school. So it's like, because it's not like it happens, it's not like it doesn't happen to both girls and boys. It's just like, I got hit with a double whammy, you know? But when I think about it, it's sort of like, I don't want to be trans to be a man, to sort of like ignore being a girl or something like that, because I've experimented with femininity. I've fully, you know, went into a phase where I was so strictly wearing only skirts and dresses and being super overly feminine, I guess, just to sort of like be a woman and be a girl and really try really hard to do that and be that. And like, I don't know, it just didn't feel right. There's nothing wrong with being a woman. I don't think there's like, I don't resent the idea of womanhood. I just felt disconnected from it, you know? Even having a very supportive mom of like being supportive in the sense of like, if I was like going through a period or something, she would be very helpful with that. Wanting to try on something new, like a very like positively, like having a good experience with womanhood. Like, that was, you know, I didn't have a problem with that, because my mom was like, you know, always had my back on all of those womanly things, you know? And so when I sort of do that thing where it's like, what's it like to be a man? What's it like to be a woman? You know, there's no set way to be either, you know? And that's why for a little while I also thought I was non-binary when I was like 13 or 14. Because I was like, you know what, let's try being neither for a little bit and try that out. And it just didn't feel the same as being called he and him and like being referred to as a man, you know? Because I still feel like me, just experimenting and trying out new things just to see what feels right for me. That's what was important. Like, I didn't like being called she and her. It just didn't feel good. Being called they, them also didn't really feel exactly right. Like, I didn't mind it, I guess, but it's just like, didn't feel right either. And it still sometimes occasionally is just like, no, that's not me, you know? But he, him, I feel like that's me. I feel like I've always just resonated with it more. Like, I know a lot of detransitioning stories are about how other people had perceived them. But for me, it's just sort of like, it's always been sort of focusing on myself. And that's why, like, when I had watched the one video where it's like, just take a week to yourself and focus on yourself. Not, I mean, like, because I've always had this thing that was like, oh, what if I'm being selfish? It's like, no. Anytime I've ever felt like I was being selfish really was just taking care of myself and looking at myself, you know? And I want to do that again and be like, really look and be with myself alone and, you know, determine what's right for me. But that's why I want help with it, you know, navigating some things that I feel are misplaced. Like, I don't want some emotions or desires or feelings to be misplaced or coming from a wrong direction or something. It's just like, I finally want to be me. I don't want to be somebody else. I want to be me, you know? But my whole trans experience was just like, ever since I was a little kid, I liked wearing my brother's clothes, and then I would visit extended family, and they would always be like, ugh, so, but that didn't stop me. I didn't want to try and be a girl for them. If I wanted to try and be a girl, I would do it for myself. And that's what I did, when I went through that hyper feminine phase. I also really wanted to do it for my mom so she wouldn't hate me. But I've grown past that in the sense of, like, I don't care if she will hate me or not. Well, I will care, but I've got to focus on me first, I'm not gonna change my identity for my mom because, she's the only one I had. But yeah, just being like a tweenager and wanting to do all the boys things and getting made fun of was just like, screw you guys. Why should it have even mattered? Even at the time I was like, yeah, so what if girls want to do boy things? Like, come on, I always thought that was ridiculous. And so that's why I've never been uncomfortable with, like, sort of, I don't know, I've never, like, hated women, you know what I mean? Like, I know that there's some people that, like, resent women and girls and being female and femininity. It's like, I think all of that stuff is fun. I'm just not a woman. I'm a man that can be in touch with his feminine side, I don't know where I'm going with this. Just wanted to babble a bit, I guess, but yeah.